lay out to people what your job was with the military and how this all started for you.
Yeah. So I was an intel officer in the Air Force for 14 years, 7 active, 7 reserve. Then I kind of had like a parallel track in the civilian intel world when I became a reservist. But my career mostly, I didn't even really think about this topic. UFOs were not on my radar. I wasn't really a believer. I was agnostic about it. Most of my career, I did a lot of behind the door special access program, technical type activities. I was kind of a space intelligence expert, a cyber intel expert. And like I said, this was not on my radar at all. I would joke with my buddies because I used to handle the presidential daily brief for the National Reconnaissance Office director in my military capacity as a reservist. And I was well cleared to hundreds and hundreds of compartmented programs. And, the joke was like, when are we going to get the read on for the crazy shit? And that never happened. And I do remember the day that I really can remember that I was like, what's with this UFO stuff? I was briefing a senior person at the CIA into a couple hundred special access programs. So I was at the headquarters at the agency, and after the indoctrination I was giving to the senior person, this person who worked with Lou Elizondo previously was like, Dave, have you ever heard of this guy, Lou Elizondo? He's running some UFO program at the Pentagon. We all think he's crazy. And I'm like, I don't know who this guy Lou Elizondo is, and I don't know of any kind of UFO program. So that sounds nuts to me. But lo and behold, and that was like early 2017, and lo and behold, in December 2017, that New York Times article came up with that named the ATIP program and the OSAP program, so Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Application Program, and the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program being the other acronym. And I was like, holy shit, wait, that's that guy Lou Elizondo that I heard about. You know what? I think I have heard of OSAP. When I was a lieutenant, I used to read these reports from the Defense Intelligence Agency on black holes and stuff, and I was like, that's like stupid. Why is the DIA looking into black holes, time warps? It just didn't make any sense to me back in like 08, 09 when I was a lieutenant. And all of a sudden, I'm like, well, maybe there's something to this UFO thing. I'm not saying I was like a believer either way on the subject, but this was a topic of concern apparently for the Pentagon. And in 2018, I started doing kind of what I call my open source literature review. Like, let me spin myself up on this topic, watching Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo, Leslie Kean, all these people talk about the subject. And then just trying to understand, so what is this with UFOs? Has this been going on for a while? The answer is yes, like Foo Fighters, sightings of weird stuff in antiquity, etc., which we can get into later. But and so early 2019 comes along, and my boss at the National Reconnaissance Office in kind of my Air Force major capacity forwarded me an email from what became stood up in I guess it was 2018, which was the unidentified, it was aerial, now anomalous phenomena task force, UAP task force. So the UAP task force director sent my boss an email saying, hey, we're looking for a rep to the task force. And as like any good officer, I was like, well, I'll put it on my performance report. Hey, I was on a task force, and that would look good. And I, being well cleared, and also a bachelor's degree in physics, master's in intelligence analysis, I'm like, you know what? I'll figure out what this shit is. It's either going to be weather shit, maybe it's an adversarial program, maybe it's like a U.S. program people are misidentifying on rare occasions. So fuck it, I'll go see where the data takes me. And early 2019 or so, I joined the UAP task force, and then I started interviewing pilots. Flag officers, general officer equivalent type Navy folks. And, they were seeing some really crazy shit. And like a, event that I talked about previously publicly in a YouTube video on the Yes Theory channel. There was this one 30-year senior Navy officer that, he was going to work sober, no predisposition for fantasy, all that kind of stuff. Because I interviewed the individual for a couple hours, and he saw this crazy triangle hover over his car going to work at a certain naval facility, and it like blew his mind. He was serious. The paint on his car turned milky white after the incident. So to me, that sounds like ionizing radiation. So like ultraviolet, just like how your headlights get all foggy over time if you park your car out in the sun. Same phenomenon just happened, within 24-hour period. And I'm like, whoa. If this is true, and the oral testimony and crazy radar data that I saw when I was on the task force, stuff making turns that didn't make any sense. Well, holy shit! What is this stuff then?
This anomaly with his paint is this documented? Is this photographs or?
Yes, I saw photographs. It was documented. Yeah.
And what is there a conventional explanation?
I mean, based on what he described, something to rapidly ionize his paint like that within a day, I can't think of anything off the top of my head in terms of some conventional aerospace technology. And this was a certain facility in the continental U.S. This was not overseas. So it's not like our adversaries flying some spooky thing in U.S. airspace.
So this thing hovered over his car for how long?
Couple minutes while he was traveling at about 60 miles an hour. So it was pacing.
How far away from his vehicle?
It's probably a couple hundred feet in altitude. It was less than 1,000 feet, which is
Really?
also bad because from an airspace perspective, pilots would know this. Anything under 1,000 feet? No. Unless you get special clearance, and you only do that over controlled airspace, like a military test ranges, right? Like people fly low and that kind of thing.
So is he on, what kind of a highway is he on?
A conventional civilian highway.
Civilian highway. So anyone could have been on it.
Yes.
And it just happened to be this guy. Did he have any other experiences with this thing?
No, this was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. He kept it to himself for a couple years, but then he... the task force came out.
What was his name?
I don't. What he's
okay.
That individual's still on.
Let's call him
duty.
Bob.
Yeah.
So, but did anybody say to him, "Hey, Bob, what the fuck happened to your car?"
That's a good question. I don't remember if people asked him about his car. So he took pride in his car. So it actually was probably more upsetting to him personally.
What kind of car was it?
It was like a Toyota or something. So
okay.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, his Toyota's fucked.
Yeah.
Okay. And so did he have to report this? Is this something that...
He did not report it, to my knowledge, to anybody. It wasn't until he reported it to us about 5 years later that it happened.